All right, so let's like really unpack this whole personal independence payment thing,
PIP.
PIP, yeah, in the
Yeah.
UK.
Yeah.
You've probably heard about it. Maybe even wondered like, I wonder if this applies to me.
And you should wonder,
Yeah.
because a lot of people kind of just assume, oh, no, that wouldn't apply to me. But the criteria are actually a little bit broader than you might think.
Right. And that's where it gets interesting, right? Because
Mm.
today
Uh-huh.
we are going deep into how to actually claim PIP.
Yeah.
And we are using the UK government's own website, gov.uk,
Oh, wow.
as our guide. So, it's straight from the source.
Straight from the horse's mouth.
Exactly.
Got it.
But before you even think about, like, okay,
Yeah.
how do I do this?
Yeah.
The big question is, like, if should I even be doing this?
Yeah.
Am I eligible?
Eligibility is key, right? And it can get a little bit tricky because there are some variations depending on if you are in England or Scotland or Northern Ireland.
So location matters.
Location matters.
Got it. Now, what about folks who are nearing the end of their life because of a serious illness?
Mm-hmm.
Is that the same process?
That is a separate process altogether.
Okay.
So it's important to kind of have that distinction right from the start.
Right from the start.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say you've done your research. You've checked the eligibility criteria. You're like, okay, I think I might actually have a valid claim here.
Yeah.
What is the most efficient way to get the ball rolling?
I would say, from my understanding, the fastest route is by phone.
Okay, phone calls, love them or hate them.
Yeah.
They are often the most direct way to get things done.
Yeah.
So walk us through it. What's the first step?
So you are going to want to call the dedicated PIP line.
Okay.
Now, I know phone calls can be a little daunting for some people, especially when it's something as important as this, but the PIP advisors are actually trained to be helpful and patient, and they will kind of guide you through those initial steps and send you a form to fill out all about your condition.
So get the form,
Yeah.
fill it out.
Yeah.
Sounds pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
What happens next?
You send that form back, and then depending on the information that you have provided, they may ask you to attend an assessment, and that just kind of helps them get a more complete picture of, how your condition is impacting your daily life.
Assessment.
Yeah.
That word probably makes some people a bit nervous. Is there any support available during that initial phone call if someone needs a little extra help?
Absolutely. You can have someone else on the call with you, or even have someone call on your behalf if that's easier for you.
Okay.
It's all about making the process as accessible as possible.
It's really good to know.
Yeah.
It's great that they built that kind of support into the system now before you even make that call. What kind of information should people have ready, to avoid that last minute scramble for documents?
Sure. So you are going to want to have your basic contact details, date of birth, national insurance number if you have one, and be sure to have your bank details handy as well.
Makes sense. What about information related to like your medical care?
Yes. Definitely the name, address, and phone number of your doctor or any other health professional that you're seeing.
Okay, so all the essentials. Now, what if someone has spent time in a care home or abroad? Do they need to have those details ready as well?
Absolutely. So if you spent any time in a care home or hospital, you'll want to have the dates and addresses for those. And if you've been outside of the UK for more than 4 weeks at a time, you will also need those dates and the countries that you visited as well.
So quite a bit of information to gather.
Yeah.
But it sounds pretty straightforward. Could you give us the actual number for that PIP claim line, just in case anyone wants to jot it down?
Absolutely. The number is 0800-917-2222.
Perfect. And if you use a text phone?
That number is 0800-917-7777.
Awesome. We'll make sure that those are in the show notes for easy reference.
Yeah.
What about people calling from outside the UK? Is there a different number for them?
There is. For international calls, the number is +44 191 218 7766.
Got it. And what are their operating hours?
The lines are open Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Okay, so calling is definitely like a good option if you want to get things going quickly. But what if someone is just not a phone person?
Yeah.
Is there another way to claim PIP?
You can absolutely claim by post if that's more comfortable for you. Just keep in mind that it may take a bit longer to get a decision that way.
Okay, slower, but still an option. What's the process for claiming by mail?
So you will need to send the letter to Free Post DWP PIP1.
Okay.
And here's a little tip. Don't write anything else on the envelope, not even your return address. You don't even need a stamp.
Free post? Nice.
Free post.
So you send the letter off, and then what?
They will send you a form asking for some of your personal information. You'll fill that out, send it back, and then they will send you a second, more detailed form about your disability or condition.
A two-step process.
Yeah,
First, personal details, then the specifics of your condition. That makes sense.
exactly.
Now, that second form, the one about how your disability affects you, that seems pretty important, wouldn't you say?
It is crucial. Whether you apply by phone or by post, that's the form where you really lay out how your condition impacts your daily life.
Okay, so how do you make sure you're filling it out correctly and, giving them all the information that they need?
So they do provide some guidance along with the form. Use it. It's there to help you. Don't rush. Take your time to fill it out thoroughly.
And how long do you have to return it?
You have 1 month, but don't panic if you need a bit more time.
Oh, there's some flexibility.
Yes, you can always contact the PIP inquiry line if you need an extension or have any questions about the form.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
It's always reassuring to know there's a little bit of wiggle room. Is there anything else that people can do to, kind of make this process smoother or make their claim stronger?
Gathering any supporting documents that you have is always a good idea. So think like prescription lists, care plans, even a letter from your doctor or another medical professional. Those can really help to back up what you were saying in the form.
So it's about having evidence to support your claims.
Exactly. And if you're struggling with the form at all, remember that organizations like Citizens Advice are there to help. They can offer guidance and support to make sure you're presenting your case in the best possible way.
Now, we live in a digital age, so I have to ask, is there any way to apply for PIP online?
There is, however, there's a catch. The online application isn't available everywhere yet.
Oh.
It's being rolled out gradually, so it depends on your location.
So it's a bit of a postcode lottery?
Unfortunately, yes, but you can easily check if it's available in your area by entering your postcode on the gov.uk website. They have a dedicated page just for that.
Okay. What do you need to have ready if you are eligible to apply online?
The Essentials National Insurance number, a valid email address, and your mobile phone.
Okay, standard online stuff. Would you mind sharing that link just in case anyone wants to check their eligibility or just jump right into the online application?
Of course, we'll include it in the show notes, and if you've already registered on the site, you can simply sign in to your PIP account.
So we've covered 3 ways to claim PIP phone post. And online, it seems like you've really tried to make the process accessible to everyone.
They have, and there's a lot of support built in to help you along the way.
Right.
Don't be afraid to lean on those resources if you need them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But let's not forget, PIP isn't just about financial assistance.
No.
It's also about enabling people to live more independently.
That's what's so important about PIP. It's about accessing vital support and services that can truly improve your quality of life, and that increased independence can have a ripple effect about, positively influencing your overall well-being.
So we've covered the initial application process, but what happens next? What's the next stage in this PIP journey?
Ooh.
We'll find out in part 2. All right, so we've tackled that initial application process for PIP.
Yeah.
But what happens after you've hit that send button or hung up the phone?
Right.
What's the next step in this whole process?
Well, once your application is in, along with that all-important how your disability affects you form, and everything's been processed, you might be asked to attend a face-to-face assessment.
Ah, the assessment. I imagine this is the part that makes a lot of people nervous.
It's understandable to feel apprehensive,
Yeah.
but it's really important to remember that the assessment isn't designed to catch you out or anything like that. It's simply about helping the decision makers get a clearer picture of how your condition affects your daily life.
So it's more about gathering information than putting people on the spot.
Exactly. It's all about making sure you receive the appropriate level of support.
Okay, that makes sense. What actually happens during the assessment? What should people expect?
The assessment is usually conducted by a health professional. Could be a nurse, a doctor, someone with a background in understanding medical conditions.
So they're not just like bureaucrats looking at forms.
Not at all. They'll ask you questions about your condition, how it affects you day to day, and what kind of help you need to manage those challenges.
It's about getting a real sense of your lived experience with the condition.
That's a great way to put it. It's about showcasing the reality of your situation and how it limits your ability to do everyday things.
What kind of everyday things are we talking about here?
Things that many people take for granted but can be really difficult for someone with a disability. Preparing meals, getting dressed, bathing, communicating, reading, managing finances, even just moving around your own home.
Those invisible struggles that often get overlooked.
Exactly. And the assessment also takes into account the severity and variability of your condition. They'll consider how often you experience difficulties, how intense those difficulties are, and if your condition fluctuates.
So it's really about painting a holistic picture.
It is, and that's why it's so important to be open and honest during the assessment. Don't downplay your difficulties or try to appear like you're coping better than you are. This is your chance to let them see the full impact of your condition.
That's such an important point. I think a lot of people feel pressure to, you know, power through or
Yeah.
pretend like everything's fine.
Right.
But in this case, honesty really is the best policy.
Absolutely. Remember, this assessment is ultimately designed to help you.
Okay, so you've had your assessment now. What?
So the health professional who conducted your assessment will write up a report detailing their findings and recommendations. This report then goes to a decision maker at the Department for Work and pensions the DWP.
So it's not the assessor who makes the final decision about your PIP award.
No, they're simply providing their professional opinion based on their observations, and your input, the final decision rests with the DWP.
Okay, so the DWP gets the report. What happens then?
The decision maker will carefully review the report along with all the other evidence you've provided, such as medical records or supporting letters. They're looking at the whole picture, not just the assessment on its own.
They're taking everything into account before making a decision.
Exactly. And while this is happening, remember you can always contact the PIP inquiry line if you have any questions or concerns.
Good reminder. So how long does this decision-making process usually take?
It varies depending on the individual case and its complexity, but you should generally expect to hear back within a few weeks of your assessment.
Okay, so there's a bit of a waiting game, but hopefully not too long.
Right.
Now, what are the possible outcomes here? What are the different decisions they could reach?
There are a few possibilities. You might be awarded PIP. You might be awarded PIP at a different rate than you expected, or your claim might be rejected.
A range of possibilities.
Yeah.
Let's start with the positive outcome. What happens if you are awarded PIP?
If your claim is successful, you'll receive a letter outlining your award.
Okay.
This will include the rate at which you'll receive PIP and the duration of your award.
Just as a reminder, PIP is made up of two components, right?
That's right. You have the daily living component and the mobility component, and you can be awarded either one or both of these depending on your needs.
And each component has like different rates depending on how severe your needs are.
Exactly. The daily living component, for example, has a standard rate and an enhanced rate. And it's the same for the mobility component. Your award letter will clearly specify which component you're being awarded at what rate and for how long.
Okay, so that covers the good news scenario. But what if you're awarded PIP, but at a different rate than you were expecting?
If you disagree with the decision, you have the right to ask for it to be reviewed.
So you're not just stuck with whatever they decide.
Right.
There's recourse.
Absolutely. You can challenge the decision if you believe it doesn't accurately reflect your needs.
What's the process for asking for review like?
You'll need to write to the DWP explaining why you disagree with their decision and provide any additional evidence that supports your case.
So it's about presenting your perspective
Yeah,
and any new information that might be relevant.
exactly. And remember, organizations like Citizens Advice can offer guidance and support throughout this process.
Okay, so there's the option of a review if you disagree with the awarded rate.
Mm-hmm.
But what if your PIP claim is rejected entirely?
That can be very disappointing, but it's important to note you still have options if your claim is rejected. You have the right to appeal the decision.
So there's still hope, even if the initial decision isn't in your favor.
Absolutely. You have the right to challenge the decision and present your case to a different decision maker.
Is the appeals process similar to asking for a review?
It's similar in the sense that you'll need to write to the DWP outlining your grounds for appeal and provide any supporting evidence you have.
So you're making your case again, but to a fresh set of eyes.
That's right. And don't hesitate to seek support from organizations like Citizens Advice. They can be incredibly helpful in navigating the appeals process and ensuring you're presenting your case effectively.
It's so reassuring to know that there are these safety nets built into the system that you're not just left high and dry
Right.
if things don't go your way initially.
The PIP system is designed to be fair and accessible, and there are multiple avenues for recourse if you disagree with the decision.
Okay, so we've covered the possible outcomes after the assessment. Now, let's say everything goes smoothly. You're awarded PIP.
Yeah.
How do those payments actually work?
Right.
How do you get the money?
Once your award is finalized, the payments are usually made directly into your bank account every 4 weeks.
Like a regular payment schedule?
Exactly. The payment dates are usually set for a specific day each month.
And What if your circumstances change at some point? Do you need to let the DWP know?
It's crucial to keep the DWP updated on any changes in your circumstances that might affect your PIP entitlement.
Okay.
This includes changes to your condition, changes to your living arrangements, or if you start working.
So it's about maintaining open communication with the DWP and making sure they always have the most up-to-date information.
Precisely, failing to report changes could impact your PIP payments or even lead to overpayments, which you might have to repay later.
So transparency and communication are really important here.
They're key to a smooth and successful experience with PIP. Now, we've talked a lot about the ins and outs of the application process, the assessment, the decision-making, and how the payments work, but there's one crucial aspect we haven't touched on yet, and that's the importance of gathering evidence to support your claim.
That's right. Evidence is the foundation of any strong PIP application, and that's exactly what we'll be diving into next. Okay, we are back and ready to tackle the final and arguably the most crucial part of this whole PIP journey.
Yeah.
Evidence, you've got a great story to tell, but you need the proof to back it up.
It's true. Think of evidence as the backbone of your PIP claim. It's what gives your words weight and helps the decision makers really understand your situation.
So what kind of evidence are we talking about here? Like, what should people be gathering?
Well, that's where it gets interesting because the types of evidence that can really bolster your PIP claim can vary quite a bit depending on, your condition and its impact on your daily life.
It's not one size fits all then.
Not at all. But there are some common types of evidence that are often very helpful. Medical reports from your doctor or specialist, for example, are incredibly valuable.
So getting the official word from the medical experts is key.
Absolutely. These reports provide detailed information about your diagnosis, your treatment plan, your prognosis, and really help paint a clear picture of the nature and severity of your condition for those making the decision.
It's not just about saying, hey, I have this condition. It's about having a medical professional back up that claim.
Precisely. And beyond medical reports, things like prescription lists can be very helpful as well.
Okay.
They clearly demonstrate what medications you're taking to manage your condition, which can often be a strong indicator of how much it affects your daily life.
And speaking of daily life, you mentioned care plans earlier. Those seem like they would be strong evidence as well.
They are. If you have a care plan in place that really speaks volumes about the level of support you require on a regular basis,
Right.
Care plans outline the type and frequency of care you receive, whether it's from family, friends, or professional carers. All of that information helps paint a picture of how your condition impacts your ability to manage everyday tasks independently.
It's not just about your condition in isolation. It's about how it plays out in the real world.
Exactly. And that's where things like letters from therapists or social workers or occupational therapists can also be really powerful pieces of evidence.
Yeah, because they often have that firsthand insight into how your condition affects your day-to-day functioning.
Yes, and they can provide very specific observations about your struggles and your need for assistance with different activities.
Yeah.
Their professional opinions carry a lot of weight.
So we've got medical reports, prescriptions, care plans, letters from professionals. What about evidence from people who know you personally? Can that be helpful too?
It definitely can. Statements from family members, friends, even employers who can talk about the challenges you face because of your condition can add a really important personal touch to your application. They see the day-to-day reality of what you're going through.
They see how your condition affects your ability to work, socialize, manage your household, all those things.
Exactly. It's about building that multifaceted picture of your lived experience. And remember, evidence doesn't always have to be these formal documents.
Well, what else could be considered evidence?
Well, in certain cases, things like photographs or videos can actually be very helpful.
Well, that's interesting. How?
Well, let's say your mobility is limited.
Okay.
You could submit photographs of your home that highlight accessibility challenges like narrow doorways or stairs that are difficult to navigate.
So it's about visually demonstrating those barriers that you face.
Yes, or if you struggle with fatigue, you could keep a diary tracking your energy levels throughout the day. It can be a really compelling way to show the impact of your condition, even if it's not always visible to others.
A fatigue diary. It's a brilliant idea. So we've covered a lot of ground here. Medical reports, prescriptions, care plans, letters from professionals, statements from people who know you personally, even photos and diaries. Is there anything that people should avoid submitting as evidence?
I would say it's generally best to avoid submitting anything that isn't directly relevant to your PIP claim or that might be seen as offensive or inappropriate. Keep it factual, keep it professional.
So stick to the facts and let the evidence speak for itself.
Exactly. And remember, you want to present a clear and concise case. Don't overwhelm the decision makers with irrelevant information. Sometimes less is more.
Focus on quality over quantity.
Absolutely. Make sure each piece of evidence you submit is really working to highlight how your condition impacts your ability to carry out those essential daily activities.
Okay, so you've gathered all this amazing evidence. You're ready to submit it. So you just send a giant box of stuff to the DWP.
Well, while I admire your enthusiasm, that's probably not the most effective approach.
Good.
Organization is key here. You want to make it easy for the decision makers to navigate your evidence and understand your situation.
No random piles of paper then.
Definitely not. Organize your evidence clearly and logically. Use folders or dividers to separate different types of documents.
Oh.
You want to make their job as easy as possible so they can focus on the content of your evidence.
And what about a cover letter? Is it helpful to include one kind of summarizing the evidence you're submitting?
That's a great idea. A cover letter allows you to provide a brief overview of your claim and highlight the key pieces of evidence you've included. It's like giving them a roadmap to your application.
And if you're submitting a lot of evidence, maybe even an index, just listing and organizing all the documents.
That can be helpful as well, especially if you have a more complex case. Remember, you want to make it as easy as possible for them to find the information they need.
Okay, so organization is crucial. Any other tips for submitting evidence effectively?
Always make copies of everything you submit just in case the originals get lost.
Oh, good point.
And use a tracked delivery service so you can confirm that your evidence has been received by the DWP. It's all about covering your bases and making sure nothing falls through the cracks.
So you've got that proof of delivery, just in case there are any questions later on.
Okay.
Okay, so we've talked about what kind of evidence to gather, how to organize it, how to submit it, but let's be real, this whole process can feel pretty overwhelming.
It absolutely can. Gathering evidence is often the most challenging part of the entire PIP application, but it's so worth it.
Because it's the foundation of your claim?
Exactly. The evidence you provide can make a huge difference in the outcome, so put in the effort to gather as much relevant information as you can. And remember, you don't have to go it alone.
Yeah.
There's support out there to help you through every step.
Like Citizens Advice, they can be a lifesaver when it comes to navigating PIP.
Yes. They can offer guidance on gathering evidence, help you fill out the forms. They're a fantastic resource, and don't underestimate the support of your healthcare team.
Right, your doctor specialist, other healthcare professionals, they're on your side.
They can provide those medical reports, answer any questions you have, even write supporting letters. They want to see you get the help you need, so reach out to them.
That brings us to the end of our deep dive into PIP. We've covered a lot of ground. The application process, the assessment, the decision-making, how payments work, and now the all-important evidence. It could seem like a lot, but hopefully we've given you the information and confidence to navigate this system and get the support you deserve.
Remember, PIP is designed to help you live a more independent and fulfilling life. Don't let the process intimidate you. Arm yourself with information, gather your evidence, and don't hesitate to reach out for help if you need it. There are people who want to see you succeed.
And on that note, we'll wrap things up. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and as always, stay curious and keep learning.